All right. Let's look at the real 10.0.5 tier list for range, DPS, and Mythic Plus. Obviously, Shadow Priest is going to be S tier. I think Boomkin's going to be really strong too. We'll have to see where Hunters are. I think it'll probably be like A tier. I think Marksmanship will be A tier, BM will be B tier, and then Survival is not range, right? And we all know how Survival is, but let's see what they have to say.
Now I know you've been waiting for this one, boys and gals. And listen, this is a special edition of Tier List Friday, standing for TLF. Why, Flame? Why is this so special?
Because in today's tier list, we're gonna be talking about how the specs are ranked in your average 15s. What do you do with
Oh, 15s. Okay, so your average 15s. So that's 15s aren't really high keys, but they're like I think a lot of the player base can do 15s. Maybe not, I don't know honestly, but I feel like it still takes skill to do 15s, and I think most players that can play their class well do 15s. So I think this is actually probably a pretty good tier list. Like Shadow Priest is a hard spec, so maybe Shadow Priest won't be a S tier here.
pugs to get some of that loads, where most people probably are doing 15s than 20s, let's say.
This is
Okay, yeah, this is actually a cool tier list because it's gonna be for 15s.
this is basically Pug World territory, all right?
Okay,
Doesn't mean
so pug tier list.
that all
Oh
of the logs
jeez.
that we're gonna look at are pugs.
Anything that has a balance tree just goes away. Anything that's a battle res or something.
But we all know that in this range of keys, a lot of people just go into the group finder and start doing their keys. And this is a little bit different. And right off the bat, we have to say, when you look at performance in logs, basically all these specs are equal. So we're going to rank them a little bit different. We're not going to look at the max performance or
Yeah,
whatever, but rather at minimum performance.
Probably what you might expect by doing, you know, random keys with a random mage that you don't know, that maybe just plays Arcane for the first time.
Oh.
And, you know, obviously every key level comes with a disclaimer. 15s are usually, since they're lower, more accessible. People don't optimize that much, and it's more realistic to what you would encounter. Not to mention that some...
So maybe this will be like easy specs to play, or high up on the tier list.
For some specs, things just die really quick.
Yeah, we're going to have a lot of that today. So it's going to be a very juicy one. But before that,
I have no idea what this is gonna look like. I'm curious.
Next Friday on the TLF show, we're gonna have you decide the tier list. So we're gonna have Mythic Plus melees for next Fridays. And it's gonna be 100% decided by you.
Survival S tier.
What you will have to do is, after you watch this tier list, go into the description of the video. There's a Google form over there where you will be able to vote S, A, B, C, D, whatever.
Yo, after this, I'm voting everything F, Survival S.
In the tier, your spec or whatever spec or what you think.
Oh,
and
he did
after you
too.
vote all 13 melee specs, then it's done, all right? So we're gonna keep this form up for a week.
Oh god.
You click on whatever you want over there, and we're gonna look at it in the next TLF video. We're gonna make basically a video about your thoughts, what you think, not looking at logs, not looking at data.
No, there's no data,
Yeah.
there's nothing,
So
it's just community perception.
Yeah, that would be the
gonna be
people's
juicy.
tier list for melees in Mythic Plus, all right?
Oh, that'll be interesting.
Remember that. Okay, now let's start it off with Affliction Warlock, okay? So Affliction Warlock will be one of
I don't see any Affliction Warlocks, so I'll play, I haven't actually played the Warlock in Mythic Plus in a while, but I think, isn't like Demonology the best spec for Warlocks?
those examples where in a 15, things tend to die so fast that those dots you're gonna spread around with Seed of Corruption, they'll do damage.
Yeah, that's so I've seen Afflictions, and it depends. This also matters a lot in how geared you are as your Affliction, if you're playing the Affliction, and how geared are your teammates. Because if you're getting like some atomic outlaw, sub rogue, or a boomy that just melts stuff because they're like 420 eye level and you don't have time to damage, that's gonna impact it. But overall, Affliction is kind of okay. It really does well in AoE because it just bursts, has it accessible. Like
I haven't seen like any Affliction Warlocks at all in general this whole expansion, now that I think about it.
Algathar, you're probably gonna do a lot of damage, but outside of that, it's like to optimize damage is gonna stick a little bit.
Yeah, you can definitely place this in around the C tier.
Okay.
Just because they're
That's probably why I don't see them if they're C tier.
No, B tier. I'm sorry, Affliction. You know, we love Affliction
deserves
more,
a little bit more.
but this is again in a 15, and there's so many variables that can change that. Flame mentioned a couple of those, like having a big boy geared up meta spec or whatever will just melt all the mobs around. You're not gonna have that much time, but I do believe there's still instances where Affliction can dominate in 15s, and this is why it's a very decent B tier. On the other hand, one like super loggy plus 25 spec Boomkin, which would be somewhere on A and S tier, over here not that much.
It's even worse. Balance Druid is also maybe even a better example than Affliction, since Affliction has ways to apply dots in AoE. Balance Druid doesn't really have ways to apply that. You still have to spend a lot of globals to do so, and by the time you do,
I was gonna say Boomkins are OP. What are you guys talking about? But if they die too fast, if the mobs die too fast, I guess they can't do the rotation, right? That's why they're gonna be ranked pretty low here.
that.
Everybody's dead.
Mobs will probably be half HP, so Balance Druid is kind of still around B tier, but considering that it's overall way better than Affliction, the fact that it's at the same level of Affliction is even more egregious.
No, the thing is, its damage profile can sometimes shine much better than Affliction, so this is why it's taken its.
I feel like Starfall's so strong.
It's kind of on the same level, right? So you're gonna have problems like ramping up everything, putting all those dots, same issue, and you don't even necessarily need to have like a.
Yeah, so Shadow Priest, like any dot class actually, or spec isn't gonna be doing great. So Shadow Priest is probably gonna be like B tier as well. So I'm working on leveling my Shadow Priest right now, but yeah, I'm probably not gonna be able to see the classes or the specs full potential until I get to like those higher end keys where my dots can, you know, tick more.
Super geared bad boy. You're gonna see some specs here that will be I don't know, on-demand AoE Giga not capped damage will just take the cake from it. That's
Pretty much
how it is.
That's kind of how it is.
Now,
Yeah, all the burst specs are just gonna be S tier. Like I think Marksmanship is gonna be S tier for sure. BM will probably be A tier. Fire I think is pretty bursty too. And so was like Evoker and like Elemental Shaman. I'm guessing those specs are going to be pretty high in the placements.
Arcane Mage. Now talk about setting up. Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Arcane Mage in 15th.
I don't see mages at all. I don't see mages. Every mage I see is like 380 eye level. There's just like a really unpopular class this expansion, and I guess it's because I don't think any of their specs are in a great spot in terms of like fun and like DPS and damage.
Okay.
I don't know if you're geared, if you have like over 410 eye level, I don't know how you play Arcane Mage in 15s and not just want to stop playing the game, because there's so much setup going on.
Well, if you have that much eye level, you're probably not doing 15s. You're probably doing like 18s to 20s.
In Arcane rotation. Not to mention, it's not an easy spec to
Maybe
play.
not.
Nope.
And if you have affixes and a lot of mechanics that, you know, kind of have to stop you from casting by the time you're actually maybe
Oh, I
getting into
forgot.
the
Yeah, there's so, dude, even as an MM hunter, this expansion, there's so many swirlies on the ground. I have to stand still for like 2 seconds to cast my aim shot, and I feel like on some dungeons, it is all like Naku defensive in particular is just like so bad.
the stuff, things are dead once again.
This is I think this is the prime example where, okay, let's just put on the hypothetical example where all of your team is like equally geared, equally skilled, and you're an Arcane Mage. Now you're gonna have a bad time, regardless of how good you are or how geared. You're gonna just have
be a bad
because
time.
It takes so much to get all of your engines going, and by the time everything, I guess you can make an argument for boss damage maybe, and we're gonna get to some specs where they maybe perform a little better on boss damage, but again, in a 15, things die fast. As an arcade, you don't have that like, okay, fast press this and just melt stuff.
Yeah,
So
pretty much.
unfortunately, boys and gals, this is gonna be a C tier here. Not
C
the worst,
tier.
it can still do very well, but again, 15.
Seemingly, it's might have
A
less
Tauren
success,
Mage
or
is
at
really
least
weird to watch.
less fun than
It's really weird to look at a Tauren Mage
now
right
let's
now.
talk about Beast Mastery Hunter, which is
Beast Mastery, I'm gonna guess I put this in A, just because it's like a lot of direct damage. Its AOE it requires a little bit of ramp, like maybe like a few GCDs, but not really much at all, honestly. Just like you need to get your barb shot out and then just multi-shot, and then you're doing damage pretty much.
a spec that can do well in any range of content in terms of the difficulty. Why? Well, it's kind of like the opposite of arcade, because you're just going to be able to place that on-demand AoE damage right up front, plus boss damage as well.
Oh,
so
for
it's kind of
sure.
kind of 100% all
There's
over,
like
right?
there's like all
The thing is, BM is it's good on some keys, like some dungeons, but I think Marksmanship overall is still the best spec for Mythic Plus. So I hope they put like a little bit above BM. If you have the Razageth bow, I think it becomes even closer. But that's only if you have certain macros, if you're playing the right way with BM, if you have the Raz bow. I can actually make a video about that. You need to be using like mouse over macros for barb shot and like kill shot and everything if you're using the bow on Mythic Plus. Otherwise you just like miss out on all those Raz bow stacks. So I'm guessing they're gonna put BM. I'd hope they put BM like an A tier or maybe S tier and then put MM above it.
Almost no requirements for Beast Mastery to be good in a dungeon. You don't have like long cooldowns that you need to time with big pulls. You don't have specific target counts, although maybe Beast Mastery doesn't really like 4, 5, 6 targets. Maybe Beast Mastery likes a lot more, or just like one is usually where Beast Mastery shines a little bit more. But even so, there's like no way to punish Beast Mastery at all in any situation.
Yeah, let's just put this on an S tier.
Oh wow, okay, S tier.
There's really no punishment here. Like again, not really. Yeah, I guess the caveat would be that it enjoys having big pulls or just being on that single target boss fight. But then again, we have Demonology Warlock, which I guess is a very good mix between both worlds, I would say.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, not the longest setup. It still requires some setup, but it's way more faster, I would say, than an Arcane Mage. Much faster.
Oh,
and it can pump out the damage in AoE, in cleave, and single target too. I guess maybe in single target.
These are the warlocks I see the most in Mythic Plus.
It doesn't shine that much in single target. That is still Demonology's issue even after the buffs. You might see it being struggling a bit on tyrannical keys, but in fortified you can still do pretty much a lot of damage since pretty much all of it is coming from your Felguard. So there's no like dots to put up.
Yeah.
Demonology is the coolest warlock spec in my opinion. Like look how he just got like it's like a minion build. All those demons, imps. This looks so fun to play.
It's way better, way smoother, I would say, in AoE, and I guess
have like a little army.
The most gameplay you will have in Mythic Plus. Let's put it into a respectable A tier.
I think it's good,
yeah. Let's see Destruction Warlock, man.
Destruction is
I have never played with a Destruction Warlock at all this expansion, like not once.
Be better, to be honest.
See, the thing is with Destruction is the Fire Mage syndrome from back in the day, back in BFA and
how long is a Chaos Bolt cast? I mean, it's really long, isn't it? Like 3 seconds or something? And no wonder there's no Destruction Warlock.
Shadowlands is where you need a lot of mobs and they need to live a lot. It has that big ass ramp time where you need your 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 27th Rain of Fire in a row to be able to deal more damage than probably all casters in the game, probably. But you probably won't see that in a 15. Things don't last that long, not to mention that tanks don't really pull that big in a 15.
Yeah, or maybe they do pull a lot more, but the setup is still there. So you can kind of put it around with Arcane Mage, maybe a little bit smoother, but not that much. You still have to get the engines going.
You probably want to do big keys.
Yeah, I feel like overall, I think this expansion, melee DPS is stronger than range DPS in Mythic Plus. That's just because of the swirlies, like especially for casters. Like it's so much harder to do your rotation with all that stuff going on. Like each pull, I feel like there's at least something you can't stand still for, which I think is one of the big strengths about BM. Whereas MM, you definitely have to stand still a lot more.
That's true.
Yeah, that's for sure. But hey, look at this, right? So if you look at like plus 25s and upwards, things look way different.
Like this pull as MM, like usually you pull at least most of the room, depending on the week and the key in the group, right? You pull like either one side, you pull the whole room, and it's really frustrating because I have to move a lot. Like I have to cancel so many aim shots because if I get hit by this, I'm kind of just like dead, right? So I can't be doing my whole rotation. Meanwhile, like Unholy DK is on that pole. It does like 300, 400k DPS. And, I'm just like doing like 150, 200k, but I could be doing like at least like 350, like a lot more. I just can't be moving. All right, I have to be moving.
Almost opposite.
Okay, now Fire Mage, on the other hand, I would say a pretty decent on-demand burst.
Yeah.
I guess you can talk about, fishing for the procs or enabling and maintaining the procs. That can be an issue. It's just, I guess we're gonna rank Fire Mage here, not based on the fact that it's pretty hard to get its engines going or whatever. It can do just fine in single target cleave and big AoE. It's still the problem with its damage profile.
Exactly. Exactly.
Oh wait, so they're just tuned bad? Is that what's going on with fire? Because I don't see like any mages, like I said earlier, but I feel like fire mages are always they always have good AoE at least, but if they're tuned poorly, then yeah, that sucks.
Even if fire mage might have an easier time because combust windows are more frequent.
Yeah,
you
sure.
can pretty much do your entire combust rotation without having to stand still and cast, as with other specs might require, like Arcane. So you don't have the mobility issue there. But even though your damage is still kind of capped a little bit.
Man, fire mage needs so much love, goddamn, because the spec is like almost like, I wouldn't say perfect, but close to what it should be.
Wow.
Let's place it in between Boomkin.
Yeah, that's bad. I think a fire mage has less, like, lower on this tier list, which is just like 15s, where they mention like stuff just dies fast, so dot classes aren't going to be good. And if fire mages aren't competing or being better than dot classes or specs, that's bad. That's a bad sign. You know, mages need some love, like you said. Like, I don't see any mages at all. And mages, you know, I'm always looking for mages in my raids because I need that int buff, right?
I see fire mage being like at least A tier if we're doing like 20s and higher. We've played with some fire mages that can really pump if the tank pulls exactly big when you have combust and the key is big enough. But that's not gonna happen at 15.
Get coordinated, boys. All right.
Yeah.
Now, a frost mage, on the other hand, a little bit of a different story.
Oh, very surprising. Actually.
I mean, frost mage can just pump out the damage. It's, I guess, in 50s, would it be harder to maintain icy veins all the time?
That's a very good point.
It depends on the pulls, like chain pulling all the time. And there's some dungeons where you cannot really do that. Some big ass dungeons. I'm thinking like. Azure Vault cannot really make you chain.
Yeah, you'll have to stop casting for a.
But even with that,
but it's still good. It's still good because
I feel like frost mage has a lot of damage. Like when you throw this orb and you get all those procs, like I feel like it has a lot of good damage. So I'm guessing this is gonna be like an A tier.
Right now, pretty much everybody's gear, right? If you're starting to gear up and you're like 398 or 400 eye level or something like that, okay, fine. Nothing really applies there because everybody's still struggling to get the damage out. But if you're like, you know, farming 15s for, I don't know, some Valor or helping a friend or anything like that, and you're playing a Frost Mage, you're gonna do a lot of good, especially if a tank constantly keeps pulling and you're not just sitting there for healers to drink mana, although they might not have to drink that much mana.
No. This is the thing. They can pump out the damage, single target, and AoE, no problem. The biggest value of Frost Mage is maintaining that icy vents as much as possible, and there will be dungeons in 15s where you cannot really do that, right? So, with that being said, performance-wise in 15s, this is pretty much like super well
70k here, like this mage, 65, it's not bad.
Warlock, which is
yeah, I think that makes sense. I think that's a good ranking for Frost Mage.
But hey, this is what we go for.
What we say is you play what you like, because you never know.
Yo, guys, look at that Hunter's Rest here. What? Hunter's Rest here.
Demonology Warlock. Which
you heard it here.
Interesting once again, if you think about the bigger keys, but hey, this is what we go for.
What we say is you play what you like, because you never know, like what can.
Like I always say this with tier lists, especially in MMOs, especially in WoW. Just play whatever you think's fun. Like stuff just gets nerfed and buffed all the time. So like, what's good one patch is just like not gonna be good another patch. And if it's like, unless you have a lot of time, you love to like level up stuff and have all these different characters, so you can always play meta. Good on you. But I personally, I think it takes so much investment to get a character up and running. It's not as bad this expansion, but even still, it's a lot of work to level up a character. It takes a lot of time and investment, especially if you're pugging. So I would say play whatever's fun. Like Hunter, I've been playing Hunter a lot. I play Marksmanship. I think Marksmanship is really fun. So that's what I play. And any spec can really succeed. Yeah, obviously not every spec is going to be able to do like 23s, 22s. But every spec can do 20s, like without a doubt. If you're a good player, you can do 20s.
Okay, Marksmanship, Hunter.
Marksmanship.
Another great example.
S tier. S tier above BM, 100%. If they don't get that, they're trolling here, because we have so much burst AoE, so much direct damage. We have like no dodge except Serpent Sting, which just doesn't do much damage at all. Our AoE is strong. Our single target damage is strong with the Mythic Plus build. Yeah.
Let's say for everything talked about so far.
Well, where Marksmanship would probably be the Hunter spec to shine in high-end content. In small content, it has like massive burst. Like its volley is on a very short cooldown, and that's particularly really well.
Explosive shot shreds. and Mythic Plus. Explosive Shot is like my #1 damage dealer throughout the whole dungeon. And you get that base explosive shot, and then you have Salvo, so that's another explosive, like 3 explosive shots that go out. So I think unless you're with like a really geared group of players who are like bursting down the mobs before, you can do like your explosive shot, volley, aim shot, rapid fire combo, then I guess it could be like A tier or lower than BM, but I just think MM in most cases is the better spec.
It's if the
For
targets
Mythic
don't
Plus.
die like in 2 seconds, Marksmanship can get a little bit of a burst out and it's going to be fine. Where Marksmanship kind of struggles is a little bit in single target, but then again, if you're doing 15s, and you're
The single target is still really strong. Like it's still really strong. I think BM's a little bit better. If you have the Rasbo, it's substantially better. But yeah, BM is still really
doing
good.
like Tyrannical or whatever, bosses are gonna die pretty quick anyway, so you won't live long enough to feel that particular weakness. And quick burst
Wait, what was that? Disengage. Lego Lina, yo, pro disengage.
and quick packs is something that Marksmanship does a little bit better than most specs.
Yeah, for sure. Having access
All right, let's see what their rotation here.
to like
They're not doing their rotation right already, I can tell. I'm so critical about hunters. I'm sorry. I'm not gonna be.
the big burst initially will definitely help out in 15s, and you're gonna see that for a couple of more specs as well. This is Marksmanship, like a greatest attribute.
What? This is bad. Their rotation is not good at all here. I don't know what they're doing.
I don't remember when I did 15s and a marksman pop his bird that I could rival it, unless we had like some other specs on the spectrum here.
Yeah.
But I guess we're gonna place it in front of the A tier.
It's probably one of the better ones.
Yeah.
What? Okay, these guys. No. Nope. This they're trolling.
One of
They're
the
trolling. This tier list ain't accurate. Throw it out.
Ones like you can definitely do 15s and be like top dog, no problem.
Tap.
Now, next, let's see how Devastation. Speaking about on-demand burst, now let me just get out of my seat. I'm gonna leave
Devastation. Devastation is basically Beast Mastery with actual burst, but actually
with attitude. It's
a little bit sucking single target. So the only issue with Devastation, which is not something that you'll feel very much, is that your Dragon Rage is kind of really important for your damage.
Okay.
And it's
I see a lot of evokers that do a lot of damage now. At first, when I think the expansion first came out, a lot of evokers were like low on damage, but I don't know if they changed or people like learned the spec more. But I see a lot of evokers like popping off in raids and Mythic Plus.
2-minute cooldown, you cannot really alter it in any way, but everything else that you do as Devastation is a lot of damage, super easy. There's like no setup whatsoever.
Just
you can do most of your damage in AoE, if not all of it, by actually moving. So you're kind of like a Beastmaster. All of your spells are instant in AoE.
Okay.
And if you don't have Dragon Rage, you still have the Deep Breath, which is probably going to be on a 1-minute cooldown if you play 15s, and that's really good. Pretty much every other pack you'll have Deep Breath, every other
big
pack you'll have
charge
Dragon
there.
Rage. And the single target is still okay when it comes to bosses, so it's probably really good in low keys.
Yeah.
You're not that squishy.
Yeah, exactly. This was what I was going to say. So the problems with Devastation and higher keys is because it's squishy, because of the range requirements. Sometimes you get fucked and you either die or you cannot really.
Hey, I'm a hunter. This is exactly the same thing for hunters. We are so squishy. It feels bad, but next patch.
Do the damage
We'll be a little
one.
tankier.
In 15s, it's all smooth sailing. No questions asked. This is a S tier.
Okay.
The best spec you can have for 15s with no stress at all. All right.
That's awesome. Okay.
Man, this is looking weird.
Yeah, this is like if you're just tuning in, like you skip to this part of the video, I'm just like, what the fuck are these guys smoking? And this isn't accurate.
All right, let's talk about Elemental
But yeah, it's 15.
Shaman.
Ooh,
Now,
the controversial boy.
Elemental Shaman will receive some buffs next reset, and this is
Okay.
probably gonna. Well, when are we gonna do like
I like never played with this spec at all, this expansion either. There's so many specs that you just like never see.
the Giga High Keep, super loggy data driven TLF? Then we're gonna see how exactly those buffs
It's gonna be some
impacted.
time until then.
But I would say, like, even though it has a little bit of a setup, it's still very good in burst damage. It's still very good in like big packs. I can still see it doing better than some of the specs on single target. I mean, it's not like on demand, okay, press this, now you're gonna do giga damage, but it's like way more easier to get shit going than Boomkin, Affliction Lock,
For
like
sure.
Destro, I mean, it cannot really compare to Devastation. The Devastation burst is just insane. Marksmanship as well. But I guess we can still keep it into an A tier.
Yeah, it has a similar issue with Fire Mage, where its damage is kind of capped anyway. Although Fire Mage seems to have a bigger damage profile.
Yeah.
But with Elemental, you don't have that many restrictions as you would with Fire Mage as well. Plus, you have like a really good toolkit to bring to your group. You obviously have Bloodlust, you have the Earth Elemental and all that, and a lot of stuns and dispels and things like that, which are going to make you able to.
I like inviting like shaman healers and like evokers to my dungeons, so I don't have to bloodlust, because as a marksmanship hunter, if you have a pet out, you lose out like on 10% damage from the lone wolf, or whatever the buff's called. So I like to have someone else to lust if I can. If not, it's not a big deal, but it is something to consider.
To do 15 super easy.
Yeah, and you help your group as well. So I say a respectable A tier over there, like on par with Frostin and Demo and stuff. Now, the last on the list here, which is gonna be very
Shadow Priest. This is gonna be low. I mean, it's probably gonna be like a high B, I'm guessing, since it's such a strong spec right now, and it has a lot of utility, and a single target's probably a little bit better than those other specs. I'm not sure really, but I'm guessing it's gonna be high B.
very interesting to see, because you played some Shadow Priest in Mythic Plus. I think you've touched on all of the spectrum of the keys except 25s. So what's your stand on this?
Shadow Priest is interesting because it does require some setup. However, Shadow Priest really pumps the group up with Power Infusion. First of all, is really good. You can obviously bring a lot of tools that will let your
like Master Spell this week. I forget what the affix is called. Whenever like you kill the mobs, you get that stacking that buffs, so you take a lot of damage for a little bit. Like I did 20s, like 2 20s with this priest, and they just Master Spelled, and that mechanic was just trivialized. It was so nice.
Your tank pool a little bit bigger, probably a little bit better than what they would do in a 15, because you can obviously dispel. You have Mass Dispel that helps a lot. Like in this week we have bursting and things like that. Not to mention, the rotation for Shadow Priest has different layers of burst, where you can do like a first pack with a couple of cooldowns, and it requires like 3 globals, and you do a lot of damage.
Okay.
The next one, you can do a little bit more prep. It does seem to be better if you do higher and higher keys, right? You're still gonna hit that little wall.
Makes sense.
Where, oh my god, the mobs are still dying. So it depends. If you don't have like big pumpers in your group, you're gonna be fine with Shadow Priest, but you will notice some issues that you probably would with Balanced Druid as well.
Yeah, and you would expect like from a spec which does have like the
that's what I was thinking.
Setup and all of that, but because its playstyle is like segmented between different types of cooldowns, it does have a better performance in 15s, and you can definitely see that. So I guess we can put it. I don't know if it's like better than Frost, but on the line with Frost Elemental.
Okay.
It's an A tier.
Okay. I wasn't expecting that.
Very
That's
different
good.
than what would you see?
I'm excited. I gotta love my Shadow Priest up.
Because okay, plus 15s are not what plus 15s were before. Obviously, a lot of people will probably want to get as close to 20 as possible to get their higher eye level in their vaults. However, if you're still doing 15s because you like it, you can pretty much play anything right now. We had to kind of figure out exactly which spec is better than the rest, so that's why we kind of spread them out a couple of tiers. But if you really look at the overall data, they're very close.
Yeah, just put it on the screen right now, and you can see.
Oh,
like,
okay. This is in 15s.
They're like almost equal. Okay, so we.
Oh yeah, look at that. There's like very little discrepancy between all these. Like 15s aren't that hard. I think, like I said, any spec can do 20s. Really. If the player is good, any spec can do 20s.
We don't necessarily do this based on the DPS, because DPS is kind of equal. Again, we're looking, even in 15s, we're looking at players that play close to perfection, and probably their team do as well. But when we're
wait, how does this graph go? Like this is smaller than this. Score of 100. I don't know what these lines mean. Marksman's ahead on BM. Shadow Priest is ahead. I don't really know what this graph is telling. I don't have all the data here, but marksmanship. I'm saying marksmanship is better. That's the one thing I don't agree with in this tier list. Is marksmanship should be above BM.
About Pug World, because this is mainly like, okay, you have one of these specs over here on the tier list, and you're going into
I guess unless you have the bow, and then the AoE is okay, and I guess that single target kind of makes up for it, and it could depend on the week. But overall, I don't know. I think MM is just people like, I don't know, people underestimate it.
Group Finder tool or whatever, and you want to do a 15 or something, then this is kind of like an image, and the argument still stands, right? So you have the specs that either have a bad profile for damage, like Fire Mage, or required some setup in AoE that will not help them out in an environment where mobs.
Yeah, like a lot of specs, like they don't have a good talent tree where they can do like good AoE damage and still do like decent single target damage, which really sucks. Like marksmanship in that regard, you know, our Mythic Plus spec is just great overall. If we can talent into a lot of AoE, and our single target is still pretty strong. And I think BM is pretty similar in that regard too.
They really fast.
Yeah, for sure.
Then on the upper echelon of the tier list, you have the specs that have
like Survival Hunter. Like you have to like change your tree up so much for AoE, and your AoE is a lot harder to do, and it does a lot less. Survival needs some love too.
either like on-demand super giga burst, or their setup is way more faster, and they have access to different types of cooldowns that can enable them to at least be some more relevant in a big AoE pack or something like that, or even on boss damage. So this is kind of our mentality ranking these specs. Obviously, all of them can be top tier damage in a 15, as you can see on the graph on Warcraft logs. That's not an issue. It's just a matter of like, how would you as an Arcane Mage, would you like to just do 15s? I think you're gonna have a bad time with that, because you're gonna be frustrated.
There's a lot of damage that you can put up, and doing higher and higher keys is always better. And
listen, this is a fun one. We're gonna do a lot more. But remember, for the next one on Friday, you have to go into the description and click on that little Google form over there and vote for Melees and Mythic Plus, because that's gonna be the community tier list.
And we have no say in it.
Yeah, nothing.
That was an interesting video. These guys have good tier lists. This was a really unique one because like it's only 15s, but wait, that was a good video. Oh, it just came out too 11 minutes ago. That was a great video. Yeah, guys, you hear to hear hunters are S tier, Mythic Plus, BM, and A tier. So hunters are good, but you know my opinion. Yeah, that was a fun one.